Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to deal with the topic postmodern theory reveals the complexity of discourse and power. Before moving detailed into the relationship of power and discourse, I would like to give a short summary of postmodernism with relation to both the above mentioned terms. Postmodernism, also spelled postmodernism, is a Western philosophy, a late 20th century movement that is characterized by broad skepticism, subjectivism or relativism, a general suspicion of reason, and an acute sensitivity language refers to and represents a really outside itself. According to postmodernists, language is not such a mirror of nature, as the American pragmatist philosopher Richard Rorty characterized the Enlightenment view. Inspired by the work of the Swiss linguist Saussure, postmodernists claim that language is semantically self-contained or self-referential. The meaning of a word is not a static thing in the world or even an idea in the mind, but rather a range of contrasts and differences with the meanings of other words. Because meanings are, in sense, functions of other meanings, which themselves are functions of other meanings, and so they are never fully present to the speaker or hearer, but are endlessly deferred. Self-reference characterizes not only natural languages but also the more social practices and reflect the conceptual schemes and moral and intellectual values of the community or tradition in which they are used. To the role of ideology in asserting and maintaining political and economical power, the postmodern view of language and discourse is due largely to the French philosopher and literary theorist Derrida, the originator and the leading practitioner of deconstruction. It says that every ideology or every social practice, all of them are constructions. This idea of construction must be understood before going detailed into this concept of ideology as well as the discourse. Because the idea or constructivism theory states that every single knowledge that the human beings gain is a construct that is being determined by the favorable sections of the society. Mostly, the constructs are built by or on the favor of these dominant sections of the society. So every ideology is a construct, every discourse is a construct, and postmodernism was trying to put this forward through the works, and that is one of the major characteristics itself that differentiate postmodernism from modernism. This idea of postmodern theory was actually gained a lot of influence from the deconstruction that was put forward by the literary theorist Derrida. And next we move on to the next title, Discourse and Power. Foucault was a postmodernist, though he refused to be so in his works. He defined postmodernity with reference to two guiding concepts, that is, discourse and power. It is with the help of these two concepts that he gave structure to the postmodern phenomena. He was actually defining this postmodernism in relation to these two concepts, that is, discourse and power. Defining discourse, he says that it is a framework of thinking in a particular area of social life. So, discourse can be any sort of thinking that is developed in a particular area, or in our life we are coming across various discourses, and this is what Foucault had tried to convey through his ideas in relation to the postmodernism. For example, the discourse of criminality means how people in a given society think and talk about crime, and what is important is that power works through discourse. So we understand that these concepts, that is discourse and power, they are actually interrelated concepts. They are not just opposing or contrasting concepts, but they are linked to each other. Without one, the other, it doesn't exist. the discourse becomes weak or strong in comparison to power. If the power is strong, this led to the formation of a strong discourse. But that particular discourse may become weak when the power during that particular time is weakened. So it is mutually proportional. We can say that it is proportional to each other. Discourse depends upon power and power depends upon discourse. If one is weak, the other gradually becomes weak. The other is weak, we can easily say that both of these are interconnected is what he tries to convey. Thus, in postmodern condition, there are discourses which are shaped by knowledge. Next, the idea is ideology is a construct. And this idea of ideology as a construct is being put forward by the postmodern theorist, that is Linda Hatchen. She is a Canadian academic, and she put forward this idea that every single ideology is just a construct. In postmodernism, it is believed that ideology and art are inseparable, and truth is something that is institutionalized. The truth that is developed in that particular era is actually made or built by the dominant sections of the society. It is not the reality. It is just a construct. Every single truth is a construct. Ideology is a construct, but it is influenced or it is made or produced by the dominant sections of the society. But people treat it something that is ordinary, something natural and commonsensical. They are not ready to raise their voice against such things. She also talks about the relation between ideology and power. Social practice exists by and in ideology. Ideology means the way in which we say and what we understand, what we believe. All these are related to the power structure and power relations of the society. We know that from Marxism onwards, we are studying that what exists is the power relations. One of the important characteristics of postmodernism is historiographic metafiction, and most of the postmodernist works contains this element of historiographic metafiction. In simple terms, we could easily define it as the combination of metafiction with that of the historiographic fiction. And she gives a definition to it as in her work The Poetics of Postmodernism, that historiographic metafiction is intensively self-reflexive and paradoxically lay claim to historical events and personages. And we can say that postmodernism was a reaction against this modernism and romantic thoughts, and ideological positioning of postmodern art and theory is also visible in her work. She says that even the official literature curricula is actually institutional policies. All the what we study, what we learn, what we see, what we understand, even all these are just ideologies, or all these are the products of power. All the discourses are the result of the power, and that's what both Linda Hatchen as well as Foucault and the deconstructive theory tries to convey. All these branches actually put forward, all these people as well as the branches put forward this idea that just like history, biography, philosophy, criticism, theory, how all these things are institutionalized, the literature is also institutionalized. It is contaminated. It is political. To say as an example, let us take the example of this Orientalism. Orientalism is actually a political discourse. There's no such thing like a pure knowledge, because every knowledge is influenced, politically influenced, and the product of certain ideologies put forward by the dominant sections of the society. So from the earlier mentioned slide, I would like to sum up the earlier slide that within a single phrase, that is institutionalizing of literature. Everything that we study, every theories, that is whether it be the structuralist theory, Marxist theory, and socialist theory, all these theories are just they are constructs that is developed out in order to meet the desires of certain groups of the society. So everything is institutionalized. Foucault defines postmodernity in terms of discourse, and discourse is interpreted to power. He actually started with the truism, knowledge is power. He was particularly interested in knowledge of human beings and power that act on human beings. Suppose we start with the statement, knowledge is power, but doubt we have any knowledge of absolute truth, because the so-called truth is just a construction. There is no thing like pure knowledge, unbiased knowledge. Everything is politically influenced, politically corrupted, politically contaminated, and completely political. From the perspective of a literature, from that particular field, we could say that language also plays a very prominent role in the development of, or it also works along with the discourse and power. We may think that language is free of any of corrupting influences, but it is a wrong fact. Language also has its own limitations. Language cannot always express the ultimate truth. Contamination of language, art, and history. Postmodernism reveals the relation between power and knowledge. Knowledge means it is the discourse. It is the central theme which links all the aspects of postmodernity. And Foucault is actually defining postmodernity in terms of power, knowledge, and discourse as below. Close scrutiny of the micropolitics of power relations in different contexts, or in the case of social situations or social practices, it helps us to bring the idea that there is an intimate relationship that is existing between various systems of knowledge, that is the discourses, and the social practices for the exercise of social control and domination within particular localized context. So what it tries to convey is that every discourse, every system of knowledge is determined by the powerful people. In this modern world, the world in which we are currently living is also, there's no such thing like truth. Everything is ideology that is determined on the basis of the hegemony. That's what this postmodernism try to put forward. And that's all my presentation. Thank you.